Our movie today begins with a woman named Lucy, who lives alone in a big city, and her goal is to search for her missing son. Her ex-husband visits her and sits with her to talk about their son, telling her that he will distribute pictures of the boy in the streets in the hope that someone will find him. At night, Lucy goes out to take out the trash, and she sees a teenage boy sleeping on the ground. When she approaches him, she discovers that his hand is injured, so she takes him to her home to treat him. Later, we learn from his words that his name is Joe, and he is 17 years old. Lucy goes to fetch some water for him, but upon her return, she does not find him there, so she goes out to search for him to no avail. The next day, Lucy goes to her work, where her ex-husband calls her. She is surprised that he is crying, and he tells her that they found their son, but unfortunately, he was dead. Lucy breaks down in shock, screaming and crying. After calming down, she goes to the cemetery to see her son's grave, where she weeps over him, unable to believe that he is dead. After a short period, Lucy returns to her normal life after suffering from depression for 6 months. She goes out for a walk in the street, and she sees the injured boy she had previously helped, as he enters a club and dives into the swimming pool. Lucy is happy to see him and sits on the stairs waiting for him to come out. When he sees her, she asks him about his hand, and he replies that it has improved a lot and thanks her for her help. She asks him to see his hand to make sure it has healed, then asks him where he lives, to which he replies that he lives on the street. Lucy is shocked and asks him, "Where are your father and mother?" and he replies that he has no family because they died. She feels very sad for him and tells him that she has a room in her home that belonged to her deceased son, saying to him, "You can stay in it until your situation improves." Joe is very happy and thanks her for her care, and then they go together to the house. Lucy shows him around the house and explains where the bathroom and kitchen are. While he is having dinner, he sees Lucy's wallet in front of him and steals some money from it without her knowing. Later, Lucy takes her wallet and goes to her room to sleep. In the middle of the night, she goes to check on Joe, but she does not find him in the room. She fears for him and searches for him, only to discover that he is sleeping on the couch. The next morning, Joe takes a shower and gets dressed, then Lucy hands him the car keys, saying, "These are the car keys in case you need anything." She then goes to the supermarket to buy groceries for the house and things for Joe, but the bag she is holding rips while she is walking, and all the purchases fall out. She takes off her jacket, puts the items she bought inside it, and then returns home. Upon her arrival, she sees Joe in the garden, so she gives him a drink and sits with him. He hands her a cigarette and tells her, "Try it," but she refuses, saying she doesn't smoke. Joe insists that she will like this kind, so she smokes with him, and they spend time laughing and talking until Lucy gets drunk. She holds his hand and looks at it, but he takes advantage of the situation and touches her body, so she wakes up to her senses and tells him, "You must go to sleep now." The next day, they go together to the club, where Lucy tells him, "I will teach you how to swim because you don't have a coach." He starts swimming with her, but he suddenly stops and pretends to drown. She fears for him and rushes to help him, but he laughs at her and picks her up, so she laughs with him and says, "Put me down." They continue playing in the water until the guard scolds them. On her way back home, she meets her ex-husband on the road, who tells her that he misses her and wants to talk to her, asking her to go with him to the hotel because he hasn't married yet, and they have been used to each other for years. Lucy agrees and goes with him to the hotel. On the way, she sees Joe from afar with a group of suspicious-looking youths, but she doesn't pay attention to them. Upon arriving at the hotel, she has an intimate relationship with her ex-husband. On the other hand, Joe is with the youths, and they beat up a person to take his money. The next morning, Joe asks Lucy to go with him to the sea, and she is happy and agrees. On the way, they see two people engaging in an intimate act and laugh at them, then continue their way. Upon reaching the sea, they take off their clothes and enter the water, spending an enjoyable time together. Upon getting out of the water, they put on their clothes and return home. The next day, Lucy buys new clothes for Joe and helps him put them on. On the same day, Joe gets into a fight with his friend and returns home angry, entering the bathroom and slamming the door shut. Lucy hears him crying, so she opens the door to him and asks him what happened, but he remains silent. Seeing him in this state, she takes the loofah, scrubs his body, and cleans him, then puts his clothes on him and places him in bed to sleep. The next day, Lucy meets her ex-husband at the restaurant and they spend the day together. Then he asks her to return with him to the hotel, but she refuses and asks him to leave. Later, we see Joe sitting with Lucy, and some girls flirt with him, which makes her jealous and angry, so she takes her belongings and returns home, and Joe follows her. On the way, he meets Lucy's ex-husband, who says to him, "I know you live in Lucy's house. Stay away from her and do not interfere in her affairs." But Joe hits him and says, "Who are you to command me?" When Lucy sees them, she runs toward them to find out what's wrong, and her ex-husband shouts at her, saying, "Keep this dog away from you, it's better for you." Joe feels sad and returns home. When Lucy returns to reconcile with him, she hears a strange sound from his room, and as she approaches, she discovers that he is having a relationship with the girl who was flirting with him at the restaurant, so she locks the door on them and leaves. The next day, the girl Joe had a relationship with goes to the house and asks him to go out for a ride in the car. He agrees, and they ride together, leaving her young child crying and dropping his baby bottle. Fortunately, Lucy hears the child's voice, runs to him, and finds a cat on his face, so she removes it and tries to calm him down. The child's mother, who was with Joe, returns and hugs him, so Lucy tells him, the cat scratched his face, and Joe takes him to the hospital. Lucy feels sad and returns home, where she enters the bathroom feeling that she cannot breathe. Joe enters to her and asks her if she needs help, so she says, "I am very tired, Joe." He approaches her, takes the loofah, and scrubs her body just as she did with him when he was sad. Then he takes off his clothes and gets into the bathtub with her, where they engage in an intimate relationship together for the first time. After the relationship ends, Lucy goes to tuck Joe into his bed, then leaves for her work. Joe is left alone, so he goes to the restaurant, and there he meets Lucy's ex-husband, who tells him, "Stay away from Lucy and her house," but Joe doesn't care about his words and continues drinking until he loses consciousness. Lucy's ex-husband takes advantage of the opportunity, takes him away, and beats him up in the street to take revenge on him. Lucy hears a sound in the garden, and when she goes out, she sees Joe's face swollen from the beating. She cries and tries to help him, but he is severely injured, so she quickly takes him to the hospital. Here, Lucy decides to stay away from him because instead of helping him, she is causing him to get beaten up more. Furthermore, he is becoming more attached to her, and what's worse, he loves her and wants to stay with her, which makes her ex-husband beat him more and perhaps kill him. In addition, she is an older woman while he is still a teenager the age of her deceased son. Therefore, Lucy decides to leave him at the hospital, and she also decides to leave the country entirely to get rid of her ex-husband and at the same time protect Joe and make him forget her. And so ends our movie today. If you liked the movie, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to receive everything new we offer.